You're now listening to episode 62 of Signed In, an Xbox 360 podcast, recorded on February 5th, 2011. Find us online at signedinpodcast.com. Hey everybody, welcome back to Signed In. I am Jeremy Superfro33.
I'm Craig Profdresser.
And I am Sean Shonix.
How are you fellas?
Good.
Excellent.
Good.
Good.
Glad to hear you guys are good.
Huh?
It's awesome.
How are
Good
you?
couple of weeks. I'm all right. Pretty shitty week for me.
Oh, it's been a weird week.
Home ownership is awesome in a very terrible way.
I can't wait.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yay!
You'll be fine. It's a new house. Mine's ass old, and
We can only hope, you know.
Yeah, good luck.
Yeah, exactly.
And the weather on top of all of it.
Yes.
My house is actually the problem with my house is it's operating like a passive aggressive like Amityville horror kind of thing going on where
You have a horror house, but it's passive aggressive.
That's correct. They're like, it's not like, oh, here's these bodies and like scare you out. They're like, here's this thing. Doesn't that suck?
Yeah.
Don't you want to leave? Like, wouldn't it be much better if you were in a better
They just
house?
go for the slow burn.
Exactly right. It's every day it's something else, and they're like, well, this is another thing that's kind of terrible.
It's not like opening
It's leaving like pamphlets for other houses in your mailbox.
Right. Realtors' numbers are appearing in the mirror. Like it fogs up, I take a shower and come out, and there's a realtor number on the mirror.
Oh, this needs to be a movie right now.
That would be a great anime.
Passive aggressive horror.
This is a terrible start to the episode.
It's the best.
Okay, maybe it is the best. Well, but anyway, so yeah, on top of that, weather, which I think is only being experienced by 90% of the United States, so nobody at home can identify with that issue. I know. But yeah, it's been weird for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was trapped in my house one day.
You were literally
On Wednesday,
trapped.
Yeah. I tried to get out of my door and it wouldn't open.
What is that, like 3 feet up, 4 feet?
Yeah, it was like 2.5 feet or whatever.
Enough where you couldn't open the door.
Yeah, exactly.
That's good.
Yeah.
You were trapped till about, what, 4 in the afternoon?
That wasn't like the drifting itself. That was just the regular stuff. Yeah,
Awesome.
till about 4 a.m.
But we weren't Chicago. That got like 2 feet or whatever. So
Yeah,
that's-
no, it could have been a lot worse.
Nuts. That was crazy.
So anyway, that led to my week kind of being light on games. But I played a ton the week before.
Yeah.
And still a little bit this week. I got some
Honestly,
in.
I figured that would make my light heavier on weeks. No, my
You
week.
got dyslexia.
Yeah, wrong way.
Verbal dyslexia.
I figured that would make my week heavier on games, but actually, no. I've got a pretty light schedule here.
Yeah. Well, we got a bunch to talk about. I know that I've got a couple indie games. I played a little bit of XBLA. I played one of the demos.
Yeah.
Not a lot, unfortunately. Played
about
the
where I'm at.
Bulletstorm demo.
Yep, that too.
Which I have a lot of thoughts on. Mm-hmm. I can join Sean on the Kinect Korner now.
Yeah.
I'm.
Is there a Kinect sound like when you turn your Kinect on? Can I put that on there when you guys connect over Kinect?
Yeah, there's the sound of the sensor going.
Oh, because it moves up and down like Wally.
It kind of throws me off at times.
I know.
Like I'm not used to that additional sound with my Xbox.
Wait till you get the AI upgrade.
Yeah.
And then I played a couple disc games too, though. Played
rotating.
some Two Worlds 2 and of
Yes.
course Dead Space 2.
Did
I cover all your guys'
I'm
stuff?
just a copycat, I guess. That's what I've got.
Yeah, I was able to get at least one indie, one XBLA game in, one
got
disc
your
game,
checklist.
and some demo. I mean, really,
Indie.
I was working a lot of
Avatar
62s.
items.
And
You
then
got any
you found-
Avatar items to talk about?
Actually, there's some really cool stuff that was put up this week, though.
There was,
but,
yeah.
they've really opened it up, but
How about
the pets,
how about the new
moves.
dashboard thing where when you go over it for the steampunk stuff, you can
That was
you can
brilliant.
put it on your character right there on the dashboard.
that was,
really?
That
Yeah.
was brilliant. That they should do that with a lot of their Avatar stuff.
Well, I'm
but-
sure that's what they're going to be doing
I
here
hope
forward.
so.
But that was kind of cool. You press X and then all of a sudden you're dressed up just so you can see before you go into the shop and then have to get kicked back out of the shop because it has to update your clothing items every time.
and then fails out because something
God
won't register. Or something.
forbid
Yeah.
it saved the update.
I know.
What the shit? Anyway.
I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't have much because I was working 6 to 3s this week, and
Yeah.
that just really kind of neutered my whole game playing and with company
Neuter.
and all that kind of stuff. And
I hear you,
other
man.
Things happening,
Yeah.
but I was able to.
No mating for your game playing. That's
I
what
was
you're
able
saying.
to get some Dead Space 2 in.
Awesome.
I completed it finally.
Woo!
Yep.
Well, at least your house wasn't trying to reject you.
Hand spank.
Hand spank.
Like you're a virus.
No, that's
like
true.
my house is.
You're right.
It's wiping us out. It's like fighting back.
I love all your house
It's just like
analogies.
a
I know.
landlord that wants you out but doesn't want to tell you.
But it lives in the walls.
It's like, yeah, you should move.
All right. Enough about my
It
problems.
eats your food in the fridge.
Oh, Christ. Let's talk about some games. How about
Yes.
Okie dokie.
that? All right. We'll kick it off with some indie games. I've got a couple. Am I the only one with multiples?
I think so.
I got one.
I'm going to start
That I
then.
bought.
I'll start with a game that actually I saw on our forums. Jesse J07 was talking about a game that he played and checked out, and it sounded interesting to me, so I checked it out, and that is Bonded Realities.
Oh, yes.
By Red Crest Studios. It is 80 points, and it is, in simplest terms, it's an old school RPG.
Yeah.
Much like the Breath of Death games, the Cthulhu Saves the World.
Yeah.
But a little different. It doesn't have that pixelated look to it.
Sure, yeah.
Graphic wise, it looks a little more hand drawn.
Yeah.
Did you guys check it out at all?
I looked at it. I didn't
Okay.
get a chance to actually play it.
I played a little bit of it. It's definitely I purchased it,
Yeah.
so I need to get into it
great.
a little bit more. But I still haven't even finished Cthulhu yet because I'm suck.
What?
I know I
You
am
do
terrible.
suck.
I am. The list of my
I'm like
uncompleted
halfway through on a second playthrough.
The list of my uncompleted indie and XBLA games is embarrassing. Like I am not proud of my behavior on that front. But anyway, so I purchased this game because I definitely like what they're doing, and I wanted to reward them for the work that they put into the game, obviously. But I enjoyed it enough in the demo, at least, that I purchased it right away. It plays like any of those old school Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior type RPGs. It seems a little more, excuse the term, whimsical.
Okay.
Than Cthulhu does. Where
Why do I
Cthulhu's
need to excuse that
it's
term?
I don't because it's
I like whimsical.
it's whimsy.
I like that.
Can you do like a harp noise? But Cthulhu's funny,
Yeah.
and referential,
Right.
and that stuff. And so is this. But it's a little more like funny. Not like whereas Cthulhu, it struck me as kind of clever funny.
Yeah.
This is like funny.
Okay.
Where some of the things that you run into is like a tapeworm, and so he's like register tape, and it's like when he
So puns is what you're saying.
exactly. But also, is it very pun heavy?
Yeah.
But also, like when he attacks, it's like sometimes he doesn't attack; it just he stares at your stomach. So those
funny.
things. It's a lot of things like that, and that.
Okay, now I do have to check this out.
And it was a lot of those
that's
kind of
good.
it was a lot of those kind of things with every enemy I ran into,
Yeah.
where they were doing things that were just kind of like funny and cute, and
Yeah.
I found it to be really entertaining. I haven't gotten too
That's
far
awesome.
into it. I know you're going to be able to build your party up. You of course get items, all that stuff level up.
Awesome.
You have your base attack. You also can do abilities that you'll gain as you level up. And it's just going on an adventure like you normally would. There's really not a lot to say because it's kind of straightforward like
Sure,
that.
yeah. Which is nice.
I kind of prefer the look of the Cthulhu, where it's a little more pixelated look,
Right.
but I definitely like what this is doing too. It's very plain, and just like I said before, it looks hand drawn almost, the animation style, and I think it's really fun. So
Yeah, when I looked at the screens, I was reminded of that Clover game that I talked about a while back, which was kind of a side-scrolling it was
Yeah.
kind of an action adventure game, but it was a little RPG-like too. Yeah.
So I would say if you definitely have any, feelings, or you like these kind of games, if you finish Cthulhu, unlike me, and are looking
Tell you what,
for the
I'll
next
buy it
thing,
and play it, and then I can tell you how this one ends too. Okay.
I hate myself. So if you finish that and you're looking for another thing to prolong for you,
Yeah.
I think that you definitely would be right in looking at this one as well and
Yeah, that
checking it
sounds
out.
good.
So thanks to Jesse for mentioning on the boards, so I could take a look at it. All right, anybody else? You want to move on?
I've got pretty much the only indie game I checked out, and of course, I mean, I'll always check them out. Radiangames Ballistic.
Yes, sir.
80 points from Radiant Games. I bought it straight out,
Me
of
too.
course. And I really like this game, but man, I can suck really quickly on this game.
It can get pretty intense.
I really like the whole, because you can you get to pick right off the back of how your upgrading is, or your weapons is right off the bat. I think the first one I did was just I went with the
Rapid fire, the first one. There?
I know. I think I actually tried. I tried with the bouncing. I like the bouncing
Oh,
shots. I like them
those
with
are helpful. Those
I
are
like
helpful.
because I tend to just start like not paying attention to where I'm shooting, but where I'm going.
You just like to spray and pray, huh?
See, exactly. So like, I really thought that was a really awesome like style to the game right off the bat. Is that you can pick from a whole list.
Of like upgrades.
Of upgrades to go
and
with.
you can change them. Like, wasn't it every like 5 waves you could change?
Yeah.
And then every 10 they give you another one that you can add in.
A second point, essentially. Yeah, so it's very similar to the structure that was used for Crossfire 2.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that this one's probably the most derivative of like a Geometry Wars type game.
Okay.
Like I think it's the most basic of his twin stick shooter games that he's released so far.
In terms of the shooter aspect, I could agree with that. In terms of the enemies, though, I thought it was
the variety.
I thought it was a lot richer.
Yeah.
Actually, where enemies were spawning other enemies. There were enemies that provided a shield for other enemies, and so you had to get rid of them before you could kill the other. Yeah. So honestly, I would say that what stood out for me in particular was the enemies.
And maybe I mean on the surface.
Sure.
Because when you look at it, it's probably the easiest to tie to one of those games, compared to the others.
Well, and Joy.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, I mean,
did have that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a twin stick shooter. There's not really a lot of innovation that you can do in that aspect of it, or without like adding a new element to it all. But the enemies were definitely something new for me.
For some, I wasn't really. It threw me off. Is like they wanted you to kill so many per level, then the rest of the level they explode.
Yeah.
I mean, there was times where I'm like, I'm not going to get through this level. And then next thing you know, it's like fireworks. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Which I really like about the game is that intensity that brings to it. Maybe they've done it with some other games. I'm not quite familiar with it, like them doing that where it clears out at a certain point, even though there are enemies.
Well, I think that happened with Fireball.
Was it Fireball?
Yeah, Fireball would do that. Yeah.
Because you had the number you had to hit, and once you got those, it kind of cleared everything.
Because then you switch waves.
I think this one's just a little crazier than Fireball.
Yeah,
it just seems like it.
But because you can shoot back.
Yeah, because the thing was like level was loaded, and you're being chased. It's like, I'm dead, and then they all explode.
And if you pay attention to the speed upgrades at the end, the enemies always get a bigger speed upgrade than you do.
Yeah. So one of the other things, or the hitch with the game too, other than just being a basic twin stick shooter, is it also, if you do your left trigger or your right trigger, it activates ballistic mode, which overpowers your gun and makes your gun quicker and more intense, like more bullets. And it's got a limited use.
Right.
And once it times out, you kind of have to wait for a cooldown, and you can't shoot at all.
Yeah.
But you can kind of baby it. So if you get kind of cornered, you can do a burst to get kind of clear, or if you're getting overpowered, you can use it in short spurts, and then take off after that.
I would use it when I got surrounded and I couldn't get out, and then I run for the next bomb and clear out some more guys.
Every time you clear a level, do they show up during the level, or is it when you clear?
They can show up during the level as well. Just like with Fireball, I didn't figure out exactly what caused them to appear. I know the multiplier doesn't appear till the end of the level, and I don't think the one-ups appear until the end of the level either. But
so they throw out these bombs, and those are like area bombs that go off, and if you run over it, it blows up all the enemies around you. And I really enjoyed it. I love the style. I think it's maybe the busiest as far as like
the screen behind it.
He's still, and that's maybe a down point for me, because it almost got too much.
It was a little too much for me.
And it's kind of been.
What were you thinking of that?
I liked it.
I like having it there, but there was a lot of information back there.
It's funny to see. It's funny to see the increase, like when they started doing it.
Yeah.
And then it's like it got more and more, and then like the last game was like, oh, there's a lot of stuff back there.
Yeah.
And now this one, it's like, there's like everything going on in that back screen.
Yeah.
Like I can't read any of these numbers or like information.
Now, don't get me wrong. It didn't make the game bad.
No,
for me.
No, not at all.
But yeah, it was
sensory overload.
Maybe reaching that point where point of diminishing returns. That's what I learned in economics in high school.
I would agree with that. Yeah, it was to the point where it was like busy. Well, he even had all the Radiant games listed on like the left hand side, which I thought was a little bit on the weird.
Well, advertising, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Subliminal. You're not actually reading it, but you're seeing it all the time.
That's true. And I like the ability to change the music tracks on the fly. So like you can directional pad over left and right,
sweet.
and that changes the tracks while you're playing, which I love all the tracks that he did for this game too. He put those out like a month ago or a couple weeks ago, and I was listening to those online, and they're awesome.
Yeah, but we were bad mouthing the stuff in the back, but I do like
Were we bad mouthing it?
Well, we were bad mouthing. Critiquing.
Yes.
Okay. We were critiquing the stuff in the back.
I'm sorry, Mr. Linguist.
And But I do like the bar that shows the progress for the level, because honestly that would inspire me to push through. Like when I felt like I was getting overpowered or cornered or surrounded or something like that, I'd look at the bar, I'm like, I'm really close, and so I ballistic my way through and hoping that would be enough to clear out the level, and I'll be like, whoosh. Next.
I haven't finished out the game yet. I bought it last week, and I still haven't finished all the waves for other reasons of my own personal health. My eyes have been all jacked up the last couple of days, and that's when I was going to put all my time into it, and I haven't been able to because I'm lame like an old man.
Your house is dropping paint chips into them.
It might be poisoning me. This is quite possible. I'm putting it all together now.
I think we need to go talk to a priest.
Drying out my eyes. I don't know. Anyway, so have you guys finished through it, or are you still working through it? Okay.
I've gotten about to 16, and that's about as far as I can get, and I'm having
It's pretty intense.
Yeah.
It is.
But it's fun. I love
awesome.
the look. I just have a lot of fun with it. I mean, visually, it's awesome. Sound-wise, I mean, it's the whole package.
And it is, as of right now, the final rating games on the table. He was doing one a month for that whole run.
Yeah.
And this is the last one with XNA, or for indie games.
Yeah.
And I think he's looking at some other things going forward.
Which is awesome.
So best of luck.
Yeah.
I hope that we see something else on the Xbox though, because I want these continuing. Yeah. It's going to be rough after having one a month, and now I'm not going to have any for a while.
Yeah.
So, but all the best of luck to the rating games.
Yeah. Definitely.
Is that the one you guys all had?
Yeah.
So we're done with indie?
Yeah. Ooh. I told you I'm a clone of you guys today.
That is tied up quick.
Look out.
All right. So let's move on to XBLA, and I can start with telling everybody how I completely failed to remember to buy Deathspank Thongs of Virtue. The last day it was on sale. So now I don't have that.
You can buy it for full price now.
I'll probably wait for it to be on sale again, and then sit there for another 6 months where I don't play it.
Exactly.
It's not like I would have played it if I bought it. I'm behind. Ridiculously. So the game I actually did check out was this week's release, which was Bionic Commando Rearmed 2.
I played a demo for this as well.
I did as well.
I did, and I didn't play very much of it.
Sure.
I still have not gotten hardly anywhere in the first Bionic Commando.
But you love that one, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because of the retro feel, and because I had that memory. And I think when I played 2, it really kind of brought home the fact of I liked the first one because I played it originally on the NES when I was a kid.
Sure.
So there was a nostalgia factor.
Yeah.
And I think now that that's gone, I didn't find myself caring about the game. I love the music.
Because I didn't really care about the first one very much myself, but I never had that nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
And this one as well. I just have a problem with the claw arm.
So do I.
I'm just like,
I had a problem.
Can't grab this light.
I had the problem with the first one. It's just learning to control, because using both of them and using it to your ability. Like I feel like I have to stop and then use the claw, but I don't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not fluid for me. The control,
because now you have the jump.
Because for some reason it's just not that fluid, and I can't get it down right. But I love the look. I love the sound.
I know.
I think the soundtrack's fantastic. I'm interested to see, because what is like there's shows like 5 different guys with different armaments. I'm interested in that. I mean, that was appealing to me. I thought that was cool about the story, but that's what's kind of got me like thinking.
Oh, that's right. You didn't finish the first one, so
I didn't.
No, I was about to ask. I was about to ask Jeremy if those guys were in the first.
Well,
one.
I don't believe so, because they set that up at the beginning of this one. With in the time from that to this, they've increased and used the soldiers and all this other stuff. So
I want to see bio legs. Those people with bio legs, they look cool.
I really like the
hacker dude's arm.
I really like the graphical design of the game. I like the way that everything looks. Like we said before, I love the sound. The soundtrack from that first Rearmed is probably one of my favorite game soundtracks ever, because that shit is awesome.
Yeah.
But again, there's a huge nostalgia factor because that stuff was ingrained in my head when I was a kid and played Bionic Commando nonstop. So having those and being updated in the now, with some kind of like techno stuff added in was awesome to me.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but it still has that same flavor of sound this time around, and I enjoy those quite a bit. And I enjoyed the look, but the gameplay, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I was playing all new levels, and I think before it was because I was replaying things I played before with an update.
Sure.
And it kind of I like that aspect of it.
Yeah.
So there was something that fell a little flat to me, especially at the $15 price point, because it is 1,200 points. The $100 price point for a game that I still haven't finished the first one yet.
Right.
That stuff weighs on me at this point when I have such a huge backlog.
That's understandable. So, that's definitely understandable. Yeah.
You guys have any other thoughts on Bionic Commando Rearmed 2?
Not really. I mean, it just, I felt a lot like the way I did the first time. I'm like, this is kind of neat, but, you know, it's like, it's too hard for me to bother carrying, you know? It's not like I don't think I can do it if I want to apply myself
There's
to it.
There's a learning curve with that.
I'm just like, meh.
The Klarm has, like, you know, the learning curve of, like, because it only goes at that angle.
Yeah.
Or straight up.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like you're running forward and you kind of got to know when it is you need to swing it.
Right.
And it gets annoying.
I think it's a D-pad kind of game. I think you should be able to, because I was able to get it at an angle though too.
Yeah.
So
well, yeah, you can do it at an angle.
That's what pissed me off though. But that's why I don't like the joystick of Xboxes. For me to get that angle sometime down pat, it sucks.
It's like it goes 0, 45, and 90, and that's the only thing you can do with it.
Yeah.
Unless you're ducking, then it can go straight forward because that's how you grab the barrels.
Barrel grabber. Sean Barrel Grabber. Never mind.
All right.
I don't know where that was.
Is that it for XBLA?
That's it. I didn't check out Breach at all.
Breach, which I heard was terrible.
Yeah, so did I. So I stayed away from it.
There's a scathing rant on our forums about it.
Which attracted people to our forum.
We
had a bunch of people join.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Thanks to Lunchbox 700 on our forums, who was so angry with the game that he gave away a copy of Battlefield 1943, which is through our forums.
Fantastic.
Which was awesome.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that takes me back.
Thanks.
That's where we met a lot of those guys.
Yeah, it was. 1943.
Yeah, great times. Was that not the right inflection?
No.
Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, that was awesome.
All right.
I would critique that.
How about some demos?
That sounds good.
All right. Bulletstorm?
Oh,
yes, that's the only demo I tried.
I was going to try Crisis.
That was Sean's review, by the way. I talked over it, but...
Yeah. That's all it is.
I was going to try Crisis, and I didn't get in time because I suck. So it's done now. It's the closed beta, and you tried it, didn't you?
Oh, I didn't
realize
it was a short period.
Yeah,
it's
done yesterday.
I tried getting in, and it just didn't work out.
It froze for you?
Yep, a couple different times.
That's awesome.
Yep. Or I just sat there waiting to pick up a group. Mm-hmm. So
I guess we'll talk about Crisis when it comes out.
But
and that's about it. So how about Bulletstorm?
Who's going to start?
I'll start because I was really I was chomping at the bit for the game.
Yes,
Not chomping at the bit as
you were foaming.
I was looking really, once they introduced said the whole beta for
Gears,
Gears 3. That was a real big pull, and just seeing some of the visuals, I really like the look of it. I had a lot of fun playing it, but I find myself not being able to get big combos. I'm like stuck in this certain way of playing a video game.
Sure.
Where I am not looking outside of the box and not trying to excel and try to do. It's always the same thing, and it's like, I don't know. I think the whole idea is lost on me for that game. It's like to try to make things bigger and get those. Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff
experimentation.
Which is that the videos look awesome. But when I sit there and actually play the game and try to attempt those same things that people do in videos, it's not working. It's me grabbing them, kicking them, shooting them, done. Grabbing, kicking, shooting. And it just continues on.
Yeah.
I love the look. I feel like I'm playing Gears of War. I think the environments feel very Gears of War to me. Just by the way they're set up, some of the people, just the way their styles look. I think that the armor looks like, I don't know, they just look like characters out of that world. Yeah. But other than that, I don't see myself running out now and buying the game.
Really? Oh, interesting. Not even like if you tried, like if you pushed yourself. Because so here's
what might happen. This is where I'm sitting, where I've come to terms with is I might rent the game and purchase it all on the same day.
So that has precedence.
I will keep the receipt in the game.
That's precedence, right?
Rent the game.
You've done this before.
Play it and see if I like it.
Oh, because you could return it anytime.
Exactly.
Yeah, I got you.
And that's kind of where I'm sitting at.
Sure.
Because I really would like to get the beta, but at the same time, it's like I want that other feel of the game.
Yeah.
And I thought the demo brought it. I had a lot of fun. It got nuts. I think almost too crazy at times.
Well, because I had watched videos for it and all that to kind of look at the gameplay because I knew the gameplay was his big selling point. And every time I watched the video, I'm like, so I'm going to be kicking a lot of people, huh? and that was my impression. I'm going to be like,
in the balls.
It's going to be all kicking. And sure enough, I was kicking pretty much everybody. But at the same time, I went through that first time and I was the same way. You know, I was basically doing the same maneuver, you know, on everybody. And so then I got to the end, and what I thought was brilliant about it was the fact that, you know, once you finish, it immediately shows you your friends' leaderboard and how you scored up against them. And I'm like, what? All those fuckers beat me? I'm going to play this again. And so I started the level again. And this time I'm like, well, I think I remember some of those combos from like the videos and all that. And so I was trying to, you know, maneuver them. And they're challenging. I like that they're challenging. Because otherwise it would just become blah. You know, you'd just be doing the same max combo or whatever all over the place. But then you know, I like charging up the weapons and, you know, using those attacks to take out like large groups of guys or things like that. And, you know, I would like shoot a bolo bomb around some guy's neck so he was choking, and then right as it was about to explode, I'd drop that train on them all at the same time. And so, you know, I actually did pretty well on my second go through. I'm sure everyone's beaten my score by now.
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't
on replays. Well, whoever replayed it could do it. But you know, that first time through, I was like, yeah, I'm just kicking everybody. But then I'm like, well, you know, if I push myself to do it, and I think I mentioned this on the forums too, it's kind of like the criticisms people were making towards Batman Arkham Asylum and Wolverine Origins, where people were saying, well, I can just press the same button all the time during the game and it's pretty boring. And I'm like, well, yeah, you can do that, or you can press other buttons and do pretty awesome, cool things. And so if you push yourself to do that, then you can have a lot of fun. If you want to be lazy, then yeah, it's going to be pretty boring.
Right.
But you weren't for Wolverine or Batman.
No. No, that's why
I have faith that you can do this. That's why the jury's
still out on this game. It's like I don't know whether or not. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I had a positive experience out of it.
You know, I wish on the demo too that we'd be able to buddy up and play multiplayer,
really
because I think that would really show.
I think that really would have sold
I think that would highlight, you know, an aspect of get a bunch of friends together and you guys just do crazy shit and laugh about it. And I kind of almost like that aspect of the multiplayer in this game being that way and not a versus scenario.
Right.
Because like with Gears, where we get together with friends and we have a good time, but if we're getting beat, that good time can still go away.
Yeah, exactly.
And not necessarily just because we have to win all the time.
Right.
But sometimes it can get so oppressive that it's just not fun anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm perfectly honest with the fact that I'm not very good.
Right.
So I mean, I know my limitations.
Sure.
I recognize that and get out before I get too annoyed. So I think in this kind of scenario where you're going, you know, with multiple people in a team thing against NPCs, that you're just going against the computer and having a good time.
Yep.
And just doing, oh, did you see that crazy shit? Look at this.
Or you're working together. You know, one dude throws a guy up into the air and
throw him, and I'll jack him up.
Yeah, exactly.
And that stuff can be fun, I think.
And it gets really nuts. I think that's the other thing too.
It gets pretty chaotic. Like those green guys when they exploded on me, and then I was just like, I can't see anything. I'm hoping I'm shooting people. I was getting extra points for that because I was covered in the goo.
I was having a hard time just knowing exactly what was going on. And to be honest with you, I didn't give it enough time. I need to go back into it and look at it a couple more times.
It feels very arcadey, and by that I mean it feels like you're supposed to play through it really quickly the first time and then come back and be like, okay, now I have an idea of what's going to happen, so let me make my plan and try to, you know, squeeze as many points out as possible.
I don't know what I was expecting to, and it was a little more on rails than I thought it was going to be, where it's like move up, move forward, shoot these guys, move up, shoot the forward. It kind of felt like, did you guys, I mean, it definitely reminded me of The Club. Did you guys ever play The Club, where it was like that shooter, but it was on arcade style, so you kept going around like laps?
Yeah.
And you would go through and shoot targets or shoot people, and it was all about moving forward and taking people out, and you get scored based on how you took them out and like hitting other targets and increasing your time and things like that. And that's kind of what this felt like, the next evolution of like just going ridiculously insane of that game, which makes sense. But I still had that barrier that I was worried about going in, and that is the dialogue in the game. And it tries too hard.
See, I
very hard. Yeah.
I understand that it's the joke.
Yeah.
And I get that it's on purpose, but that doesn't change the fact that it exists.
Right. No.
And that I still have to hear it.
I'm not excusing it.
I know.
Yeah.
It's just like, it's almost, it's too much.
Sure.
It is too much.
Yeah.
I'm like, I get it.
I almost only noticed it from like trailers or from other gameplay, because it seems like for some reason it was muffled by whatever I was doing.
When I was playing, I didn't notice anything. During the cutscenes, then it would be like, oh boy, I roll my eyes. But
come on, Butter Dick.
While I was actually playing, it didn't faze me at all.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the problem with the game, who it's aimed at.
I know.
It's not aimed at you.
You're too mature for us.
That's the case. If there's anything I am, it's so grown up.
No, it's aimed at anyone that loves Deadpool. I'm sorry. I used a comic book reference, and I always will. But that's when I think of this game.
Because that's how he talks.
When I think of this game, I think of any
lines,
Deadpool fan would love this game because it's over the top, loud, obnoxious, people using just foul language. Which is, I mean, it's not like we don't use foul language on the show, but when it's over,
we do.
When it's used for just to say, fuck. I mean, it's
But I don't call you dick tits.
I don't mind dick tits.
But it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. But it's putting two crazy words together.
It is.
What the kids like.
Your parents are going to hate this.
Yeah, exactly.
I guess look at the ad campaign for Dead Space.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, that's where people's heads are at, right? To sell games. So
Yeah.
It didn't strike me as too different from most major comedy movies that are released.
Maybe
but I'm pretty cynical about comedy movies.
But you actually got a good point on that one.
I don't know. I don't remember dick tits in any movies that I've seen.
Well, they hadn't thought of it yet.
Might have been.
Damn it.
Might have been a cop
got
out.
scooped.
That seems like a total
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And maybe you just honed in on my issue with it.
Yeah.
It feels like Kevin Smith wrote this game. Some of that dialogue.
I don't get that feeling.
Yeah, because it's just to be like over the top for over the top's sake, and he fits in that category for me.
Yeah.
But
the game is pretty over the top.
Well, but so essentially, it's just like the modern day version of Duke Nukem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that next evolution of,
That's a great.
I came here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and so now it's like I came here to kick your taint and eat the ass of a horse, and I'm all out of horse, so I'm just gonna kick your taint, and that's like the whole like dialogue conversation.
I hope somebody senses an infernal taint in the game.
Sensing infernal taint. I'm going to tally the taints. When I play the game, I'm going to count how many taints are mentioned.
Well, you do that with every game, right?
Well, yeah, but usually it ends up being 0. Except for the infernal. And the infernal taint.
Which is why you brought it up.
But this one will be in the proper context.
Yeah.
So, proper context. That one I was using against itself.
Yeah, so I'm willing to give the game a shot.
Yeah,
me too.
I am as well. The dialogue didn't hurt me as well. It's something about the gameplay kind of threw me off. But I think my plan. That's my plan.
I'm with
right
Jeremy.
now.
I think if we all buddy up together, I think you'll get into it.
And it's a game that's obviously it rewards you for experimenting, like we mentioned before. And so you have to get into that mindset of not just killing everybody, but how you kill them.
Yeah, I mean, I figured
and being experimental with it.
I figured I got like some bonus points. I'm like, how the hell did I get that? And I realized, I shot the bolo around the guy's neck, and then it exploded. It was like, I don't remember what it was called. Some stupid sexual reference or whatever.
I'm sure.
Gag reflex, I think, or something like that.
But I think the more and more I played it, there was some other things too. I liked it. There were some neat things that happened, like being able to pull people your way, but if something was in your way, which I thought was cool. Then they would like be stuck on something, and you'd come around the corner, and they actually were stuck on something. So it was. There was some aspects of the game. It's just I feel myself not utilizing all of it as I would. I think I would be lazy about it.
Sean.
I know.
Be Wolverine.
I know. I'd be very lazy about it.
Do it.
F that game.
Be Wolverine.
I keep thinking of Wolverine. That end level was so bad. Oh God. Deadpool. What a douche. He's a douche no matter what you think.
It was the reactor that was the douche in that game.
All right.
Oh, that game.
I'm Wolverine. I've fallen 20 times in this game to where I should have died. But if I fall off this thing, which is sloped, and I could slide down, I'm dead.
I die.
Stupid.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's nothing like the movie. So that was the problem. All right, let's move on.
I don't even know which one was better.
A couple weeks we'll have Bulletstorm will be out, and we'll talk about the full game. So
for sure.
Looking forward to checking it out.
Definitely.
All right, so how about some Kinect Korner, which I can join Sean in on now and make this spot cool.
Oh.
What? What? I don't know if your roll eyes and grunting is being kicked up.
That wasn't
of course.
That was me sighing.
Now it's the cool Kinect
nasal.
Corner, all Ks?
No.
Yes. Oh, wait. Welcome to Jeremy and Sean's KKK.
We don't
Cool
want
Kinect Corner.
We don't want that one.
What? This is a big misunderstanding.
No.
That was awesome.
No.
All right. Well, I guess we'll work on that. That's a work in progress.
Even by jokes, I don't like being connected to that.
Okay, fair enough. We'll stop.
Connect. I get it.
But yeah,
it was a pun. All right. Yeah, I picked up a Kinect.
Awesome.
And then you put it back down.
I did in my home. So the reason that we went with the Kinect,
sure,
because I've been talking about. I'm not
like
trying.
How you have to justify this immediately.
I'm telling you because I don't. Never mind. I'm not even going to justify it now. I was looking for the workout aspect.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Aerobic aspect.
Hell yeah.
Because my wife and I have been trying to be...
And Wii Fit cries.
Correct. Well, yeah, because it's terrible. So, I mean, my wife and I have been trying to be more active the last 4 or 5 months or so. We've been walking every day. So we've been using treadmill and things like that. But I wanted to kind of expand that, and I saw this being a good outlet, and I talked to a couple of people about the different workout games that are available for Kinect.
Yeah.
So we decided to go with Kinect and Your Shape, which was a definite kick in the taint.
Yeah.
If I may borrow from Bulletstorm, that it's probably in that game.
That'd be cool if you could change your fitness instructor's dialogue.
If I could. I hope that there's a tie-in. Yeah. I want a Bulletstorm trainer.
That would be awesome. Trainers for...
You look terrible, Dick Tits. Get out there before I kick you in the taint.
Fitness games should listen and
license.
You call that a squat?
Yeah, licensed DLC.
Oh my god.
All right. Anyway, so I ended up going with that, and that was a definite learning curve because as much as I've been walking, I'm probably 1 mile to 2 miles a day for the most part on a treadmill for the last 5 months. You start doing anything where you realize what really muscles you don't use. And so I did like one routine and I was wrecked for like a week. It was ridiculous. But it's been awesome. I love the tech. I think that it's really well done. There aren't a lot of games, in my opinion, that I care about right now.
Well, there aren't a lot of games, period.
Correct. So I checked out Your Shape. I think it's kind of limited as far as what they offer in there, but there's a lot of, I mean, it's a thing that you're going to do routinely, and so it can be the same thing repeatedly because it's just doing the motions or, doing the routine.
Yeah.
So that's okay. I'm going to stick with that. It's definitely well done, and I like the way that it recognizes everything. I also checked out Kinect Sports, which I think is really well done in some areas and questionable in some others.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't like the soccer. I played that, and it seemed really like...
Soccer's
lame.
weird. Soccer, I wonder how they were going to approach that, and it's weird. But I usually play the mini games of the soccer stuff.
Yeah, I like the mini games.
Were you all ready to do your bicycle kick in your living room?
I was.
And disappointed.
Yeah, I did like a reverse, like I flipped backwards, and it didn't even register anything. So it was lame. No, I mean, it
I took my shirt off.
I did that, and I run around.
That got you an achievement, right?
I slid on my knees and
totally did a power slide and carpet burns, but no. That was the achievement.
That's where that came from.
That's what the achievement was.
So I find that a lot of things, the bowling is fun.
Yeah.
And I really like the aspects of the control aspects of it. I like the way that you can spin the ball. I like that stuff. I like the mini games that are in there. I did the one last night finally for the first time, the one where you throw as many balls as in the time. And so I was just basically doing a windmill because you can throw both handed. So I'm doing a windmill for like, I don't know, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So my arms are retarded today.
The only problem is if they meet in the middle, then the balls they hit each other, and then they go flying.
What I was doing is I was doing a windmill like where they were timed up. And so my wife was watching. She's like, they're just hitting each other and like going into the the
so then you had
gutter. So I
I
had to like alternate. So I just looked like I was swimming.
All right. So listeners,
awesome.
I want everyone to go back about 2 minutes and re-listen to this part and then take every noun and verb that Jeremy and Sean just said and take it as a euphemism. And it is totally awesome.
Is it? I'm going to do that myself. I'm going to do it when I re-listen.
So did a windmill and then the balls met in the middle.
That worked. There's table tennis. There's the track and field stuff, which I thought that was well done. That stuff is fun.
Well, it beats your ass.
The volleyball is fun.
Yep.
So it's a well done game. I think it's fun. I really hate navigating the menus with the Kinect system. There's something about that because they really don't want you to use the controller, but they also don't make it the most handy thing to like navigate around.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they can fix it because you basically highlight whatever you want to do and it takes a second to register because they want to make sure that you wanted to hit it. and not just have you move your hand and it moves everything back. So I understand it, but it seems like to get back to a main menu, it takes like an hour and a half. I'm impatient.
Well, when it comes to the menus and trying to get through them, I had the same problem with Kinect Adventures as well. It's just
I haven't even tried it yet.
It's just the same thing. But one thing I've never mentioned about the pause for Kinect, I still think it's fantastic. You just take your left arm and you do it at like a 45-degree angle, and it pauses the game. And I usually use that to go back to other main menus instead, so I don't have to go back.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing too.
But
sounds better than the old iToy games where you have to shake your hand, see my hand, because they would have like a meter on some of the games where you had to keep shaking it until the meter went all the way over.
Not just hold it.
Yeah,
like
no,
you
not
had to
just
shake.
Hold. You had to move your because the iToy was more motion based. It couldn't recognize where you necessarily were if you're standing still.
That's.
Because it's just a camera.
Right, exactly.
Which is why I keep pointing out, Kinect is not just a camera.
It is not.
It's not an iToy.
It is not. And that's what I was worried about, because one of the things I was worried about, too, was the lighting in our room that we had. It ended up being, because we have it on our second Xbox, which is downstairs.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so we have a little more room there to move around, and I don't have to move anything. And I was worried about the lighting, though, because there's no overhead light. It's just like corner lamps and things like that. And it must illuminate within itself as well a little bit, because it's picking up a lot. Like when they show replay stuff, it's a lot lighter in there than
have you guys seen like the videos like with night vision
with
goggles?
the infrared,
because it's shooting out little lasers.
Yep. So I mean, it's picking up a ton, and so I'm really happy with it.
Yeah.
Because I played with the old camera on the Xbox, and I remember like with what was it, Viva Pinata?
Yeah.
Trying to scan things in, and it would never even pick anything up.
Oh, man. I hope they do an update for that on the Kinect.
Let it work with Kinect?
Yeah.
I know. That'd be awesome, right? Because that thing picks up everything.
Although it probably can't
we could do video Kinect.
Flat images.
We could talk to each other via our television.
We could.
Wow.
We'll do it sometime. So anyway, I've been having fun with it. I like how it's done. My wife has also checked out Dance Central. Yeah. I still am adamant that I will not play the game. And my issue with it is because I am completely uncoordinated. And so when I'm following instructions on screen and I'm uncoordinated and I get behind, I get extremely irritated quickly.
Yeah.
And so then I'm just like, I'm done.
Isn't it
like I don't want to learn?
Isn't it essentially the same thing as like the fitness routines?
Yeah, and I get irritated with that too.
Okay. I was just confused by the parallel between the two.
I'm in the same boat, because it's the whole fit like that, like aerobics. Mm-hmm. That's the one thing I would never get into, just because I'm not a big aerobics guy. But to follow somebody and have to do the same things they're doing, I'm always off, and then I get all like flustered and I get annoyed. I think that's what I feel with Dance Central, because you're paying attention to them just doing specific movements. Now, if I saw my character doing what I was doing, then I would probably change up maybe a little bit, but I don't like them. I want to freestyle.
I do disagree with that, though, because the one thing I liked about watching Dance Central is that you don't have your person like you would do in the fitness thing, because then I become concerned about what my guy's doing, and I find I'm not really paying attention to the other person. Sure. And so what I've seen from my wife playing Dance Central is that them doing the motions on there, and then they like, if you're not in sync, it like does the red highlight on whatever part you're not. And so I think that is really a good sign.
Yeah, that's
my
nice.
problem is I would just get so frustrated and lost that I would stop playing. But I think the game is really well done, and I see why everybody's all over it now, because it is smart.
Yeah.
And the way that they break down the moves, and you go in and break down each piece or each section of the song, and they show you different moves, and you do it. And if you do it right away the first time, that's all that you have to do. They like, okay, you know how to do this.
Yeah.
If you miss it the first time, they go, okay, try it again. Or you have to try it 3 times to like,
cool.
And then they let you progress.
Yeah.
And if you keep missing it, then they start throwing in cues where it's like, so the guy starts going like step, hit, step, hit.
That's great.
And they don't start with that. But it's all really subtle stuff that they layer on the more that you're having problems without interrupting the flow of anything. And I thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really smart way for them to do it.
One thing that I think of is just that
they nailed it.
Much like singing for any of the music games, eventually you're going to learn the words and the tune for it, and you don't really have to pay that close of attention to what's going across the top of the screen. And so for the dance stuff, I would see that happening as well.
True.
The more time you play,
for
sure.
So if you're willing to devote yourself to it, then you don't have to worry so much about that.
And I would say that with, you were asking about the difference between the fitness and like the coordination. I think with the fitness, I'm not so concerned. I'm more concerned about doing any actions, and like getting as close as I can. So I'm not concerned about am I matching up 100% with this person.
Sure.
And then Dance Central,
you're auditioning for solid gold. Is what you're saying.
Exactly right.
You're like, this is messing me up. My routine is gone now. I have to start from scratch.
I'm not going to get on fucking Soul Train if I can't do these moves. So
it's crushing your dreams, is what you're saying.
If I don't meet Don Cornelius, then what reason do I have to live?
That'd be awesome.
I wonder what portion of our audience understands
a Soul Train Kinect game.
Is Don Cornelius still alive?
I don't know.
Probably. Yes.
I thought he is. I think he is.
I have no clue.
Anyway, regardless.
A Soul Train Kinect game. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to go solid gold because I don't want to see Madam.
Okay, that's
because she creeps me the fuck out. Seriously.
No.
And we are seriously like 40-year-old men.
What about Dance Party USA then?
Dance Party USA?
You remember that show? With Princess? That's what I'm talking about.
I more play this game like Richard Simmons. With the shorts
and the sweatband.
And you know what?
Is that why you're wearing this today?
Yes, this is why I'm wearing the outfit that I'm wearing. The sleeveless tank.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. With the nut hanging out.
With the sparkles all over. With my nut hanging out, yes. No, but while she was playing, it made me realize that Dance Central is this generation sweating to the oldies.
Yeah.
100%.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, and that should be on the fucking box.
Yep,
I'm okay with that.
I agree with that.
Because it's like...
No, that's exactly
one of the
what
other,
it is.
It's exactly what it is because it's just dancing along to current music.
Yeah.
And those were all old music for old people that we were just being by talking about fucking Soul Train and Don Cornelius. So
we were giving them culture.
That's right. We're culturing you people at home. Who's this Don Cornelius fellow?
Let me Wikipedia that.
So
is that what the kids say? Do they use Wikipedia as a verb now?
I think so.
Okay,
probably.
Wiki's probably old.
So
Bing it.
My other problem with Dance Central is the music choices because I hate the music that's in the game.
There's a lot of top 40 stuff.
There's a couple of songs that I am okay with, like there's a BC Voice track, and
which I didn't know was on there until your wife told me about
an MIA track, and so I'm okay with some of them. But that's the kind of music that I can play, like in DJ Hero, where it's like being mixed and like altered and changed around, and the fun is kind of like creating that music or the feel of creating that music. But like dancing along to a Lady Gaga song does nothing for me.
This is because you guys are not dancers.
That is correct.
And so you don't just get caught up.
That's correct.
You're too listening.
I know.
I was hoping
you got to be dancing.
You got to be dancing. Oh, Lord.
You were hoping what?
I was hoping I could give a little update on Dance Masters.
Oh yeah,
which is the other game.
Yes. There's another one coming out this next week.
Summertime failed. We rented it twice, and she failed to play it once.
There's a demo on the thing. You could just check out the demo.
Maybe I'll download that for her.
That would have been free.
But I guess there was
I like how you're making her do the test run.
I like because then she can give it 10 cents, and then I can put it on the show.
Yeah,
but,
no, that is cool. But
why are you farming out your work now?
Hey, what
that's right. Seriously,
it's easier for me to do.
Do you drive by for some day laborers too?
I would.
Hey guys,
never mind.
Craig and Jeremy are making me play Dead Space 2. Come on in.
You guys didn't make me play, but
all right. So,
but that had a freestyle that I wanted to check out because I would totally freestyle that.
Do we have the over under for the line dancing game? 6 months, 4 months,
maybe.
Already in production, maybe.
I don't know, how long did it take before there was a country track pack for Rock Band?
Yeah, exactly.
That was like a year, wasn't it?
Because I mean,
well, this will be a knockoff though, not coming from Hermitage.
Oh,
like a knockoff line dancing game. That's all country. It has to be happening, right?
It could be happening.
They could totally rock it.
That's what I'm telling you.
When is the So You Think You Can Dance licensed game coming out?
Oh,
because that's definitely coming.
We're in on it. All right, let's stop talking about dance games. Anyway, so I got my Kinect, and me getting my Kinect. You're welcome to everybody because that promptly had Twisted Pixel announce their next game, Gunstringer, which, no coincidence, after I bought my Kinect, they announced that they're making a Kinect game. So you're welcome. And I thank them for listening, frankly.
Gunstringer.
Looks awesome.
Shit.
Don't know how it's going to be. They haven't said yet if it's going to be download or disc. I would think it's going to be download, but it's odd they didn't mention it.
Yeah.
It's odd that they're being
Coy.
specifically saying we're not answering it yet.
Oh, they are being coy then.
Yeah, they're being coy.
They're being large carp.
Because I think that somebody asked them the direct question, and their response was, "We haven't announced yet how it'll be available."
I see.
Really? We were talking about it though, Sean. There's a lot of options for them.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I would be surprised to see if it comes out as a disc game, but
it's not for it's something not up their alley.
But then we were talking about I would love for it to come out on download, and then also a disc version that had all of the Twisted Pixel games would be kind of awesome.
That'd be sweet,
cool.
with all the DLC and everything on it.
That'd be kick-ass. They need to do that. A collection on disc.
You'd have Maw all ready to go.
Explosion Man.
Yep.
Comic Jumper. All of it. That'd be awesome. Anyway.
Mid-Explosion Man.
Well, that might be a little too early.
No. That will be an early release.
But I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how it is.
It's the beta.
All right.
Yeah, it's the beta of Mid-Explosion Man.
Should we move on to actual games?
Yes.
Games?
Yeah.
Start off with some Two Worlds.
Yeah, Two Worlds 2.
Two Worlds Dose.
Yes, exactly.
Almost rented this game.
Did you really?
I tell you what.
I'll tell you what.
I almost rented it.
Interesting.
Reason why is they had a copy at a Family Video, and I'm like, you know what? And then I just decided not to.
I would have been shocked.
I know. I was really thinking about it.
I can't think that you would like this game.
Yeah, based on your critiques, critiques of RPGs, I don't think you would have liked it either.
Yeah.
But I do.
Yes, so do I. I did too.
Awesome.
I think it's pretty sweet. Yeah. So this is another fantasy-based RPG. Is this a port from the PC? I don't know.
No.
Okay, so this one was developed for consoles.
Well, and PC. I mean, it's all
And so simultaneous release, but not a one then the other. Okay, well that makes it different than Arcanine and Risen then. And yeah, so I mean, there's not a lot that's different in terms of like the fantasy RPG itself. And you're running around doing quests.
And you never played the first, did you?
No, I never played the first.
And I played a little bit of the first, and it's terrible.
Yeah,
I didn't like it at all.
I've heard that pretty uniform.
I've heard both that it's terrible, and I've heard that it's decent.
Yeah,
but I've never heard anybody be like up in arms. It's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, and the little I played of it was terrible.
Yeah.
So I kind of went in,
expecting this to be terrible.
Not necessarily expecting it to be terrible, because there had been talk, and there's been, they put a lot of attention, Reality Pump put a lot of attention into making it better and to improving upon what they did with the first game.
Yep.
So I had some expectation for it, and so I was pleasantly surprised. So
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of really nice things in there. I guess one of the things that you were talking about, and this is something I saw on the joystick review as well, in terms of like maybe something that isn't quite as good, is the combat itself.
Yeah, I did have some issues with some of the combat.
Yeah.
It felt kind of empty to me because you do have magic attacks, you have regular melee attacks, and the melee attacks for me felt really kind of just loose.
Yeah.
And like not like a lot of times I was hitting the people, but I didn't really feel like I had any weight behind what I was doing.
Sure.
Or that I might as well just have been hitting them with like a cardboard sword.
Yeah. I don't really notice
collision stuff. It just felt light.
Yeah, I don't really notice it per se, but there are times where it's like I have a hard time continuing to hit somebody because I have a hard time making sure that I'm connecting. Like if they're positioning around and so my camera's pointing the wrong direction, I can't just feel like if the battle's going right. You know what I mean? Yeah. I have to kind of reposition the camera because I'll find out I'm swinging at a wall or something like that instead. Right. And the area magic attacks are kind of a pain, simply because if you get hit while you're casting a spell, which takes like a second and a half or whatever, or actually the more powerful your spell is, the longer it takes to cast. If you get hit, then it stops the casting, and so
if you're in the thick of shit,
which is when you want to use
the area one,
and
keep getting hit.
And so that's kind of a pain. But besides that, I thought everything else was pretty spectacular. Yeah, actually. And in fact, you might be like, oh well, shit, there goes part of my magic ability. Well, one of the neat things about the game is all the customization you can do with things, like being able to upgrade armor and weapons and items like that, but also being able to do things like, it's got alchemy,
yes.
Most RPGs have that sort of thing where you collect stuff from animals and the plants, and you mix them together and you make your potions, whatever.
Baboon hearts.
One nice thing is that if you really like that recipe, you can have it write it down, and so then all you have to do is go to that written down recipe, and you can name it whatever you want.
So you don't have to keep remembering everything.
Yeah. And you don't have to load in particular items. If there's like 7 items in that recipe or whatever, then you can just go to the paper, and as long as you have the items in your inventory,
That's awesome.
you press that and it makes it for you.
See, I will say that you got a lot farther in the game than I did, because one of my issues that I did have with the game still is that it does kind of a poor job of tutorial.
Yes.
That I found. It basics are laid out, but like what really separates this game for me, in my opinion, is the depth that it allows for customization, like you're talking about, which it requires definitely more time on the player to invest into it, but I think it is rewarding to do so. But it really is not upfront about all these things that you can do.
No, it's not. And the instruction manual helps to a degree, but even that doesn't really explain everything to you. And so I really view it as a long-term sort of game, a very slow, a slow build sort of game. Like, you have to plan on spending a while with it. But if you do, then you can figure things out. Like, what I was getting to was the magic customization. So you have these amulets, and you switch out cards, and the cards allow you to create your own spells. So you can change the different type of spell. Like, is it ice? Is it earth? Is it stone? Is it ivy? Is it water? You know, and there are differences between those things. But then you also have another card that you can stick in that changes the type of attack that it is. Is it a projectile? Is it a trap? Is it an area attack?
Is it an elemental? Like, because you can make them creature stuff too.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Well, you can do summoning.
Yeah.
You can enchant things. You can create an altar for enchantments as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff.
That stuff is awesome to me.
And you combine those things, and you can get different results. Like, for example, you know, if you create a fire trap, then it'll create a big burst of light that will blind your enemy when they walk over it or in the vicinity of it. And then on top of that, there are additional cards that you can attach depending on what kind of attack you've created. That, you know, you can increase the damage. You can create homing abilities on it, and so that was a great upgrade for my my projectiles, because, you know, now I don't have to worry about aiming anymore. I just kind of get in the general vicinity and I just launch it, and then, you know, I don't have to worry about it as much. And so the whole area attack thing became a moot point for me, because now I'm setting traps and I'm shooting projectiles that home in on my targets.
You're not really worried.
I don't really care about it. Yeah. But it's a valid point. But yeah, and so all that customization is really pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree.
And, you know, you can use pigment on your armor, so you can color it different ways.
Very cool.
And I love
I like customize it.
Yeah.
Exactly what Sean's trying to say.
But here's the problem with that, Sean, is that it really is buried in there almost, where you have to do research on your own to figure out how to do that stuff. Because, or read the book, I guess.
Well,
but that's what I'm pointing to us, that is a problem.
Some of it's in the book. Some of it's just on the screen. If you pay attention to the buttons that they're saying that you can do, like if you go and search in different menus, and you're like, oh, okay.
So you have to dig.
Yeah, you do have to dig a little bit.
It's not up on your, you know, it's not saying, hey, this is how you break it down. Right. This is how you do it.
But, you know, it works the same for everything. It works the same for every weapon you have. It works the same for all the armor you have. It works the same.
So once you get it down, you have it, and it's awesome. It's just, I think it does a kind of a poor job of telling you up front, like, how to do this stuff. So maybe the kickstart is where I'm having a problem.
Yeah, no, I agree that, you know, it doesn't tutor you on that stuff.
I find also that some of the display choices are weird, because there's a lot of things you can do customization to change the display. Like in the game.
Yeah, I heard about this one ahead of time.
Yeah, because there's a way to, like, when you pull up your inventory, the items are pretty large, but you can go into the menu and, like, choose to do smaller items, so you can see more things on your screen at once, which is handy.
Yeah.
But it just seems odd that there's a default that's, like, taking up as much room as possible.
Yeah.
Then there's also, like, a display issue with like the HD TV settings. Like, with my TV had a problem where it was cutting off on the edges, and you had to go in and do this thing that's all titled weird that was like maximizing your play space thing.
Yeah, so I can't remember what it was called. It was like, but there are only 3 options in video, and so I clicked that one, and I'm like, oh, it's all better now. Because my button, you know, the button selections were down off the edge of my screen, and then I fixed it, and I'm like, oh, it's fine.
It just seemed like there were some odd display things that were going on.
There were a lot of there are a couple odd things.
Felt very PC game to me. It felt very PC RPG.
Yeah.
And I think we had this discussion where it's almost where I have a problem with those games. I need it to be, like, really, for lack of a better term, like, sexed up and like sold to me, like, as far as, like, clean and crisp and clear. You want an Apple.
Do you want it to be user friendly that does, you know, some things for you and makes you feel like you have the choice, but you don't really?
Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Like, that's the RPG I want because it's really clean and clinical and, like, everything is laid out for me.
And in comparison to a lot of PC RPGs, it's pretty minimal.
And it's why I couldn't get into something like Dragon Age.
Sure.
Because
is Dragon Age pretty much equivalent to this one?
I think it's very close.
It's because I still have not played Dragon Age.
There was a lot for me to try and like figure out and get into, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and it felt just a little too much for me. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
Yeah.
I think I said that I want like the jock jams. Like I need the game. I want the jock jams of RPGs where it's like, now this is music, volume 34.
When it like, because like I always think because I don't think of Borderlands as an RPG. Right. Some people tell me it is.
It's got elements of an RPG.
Exactly.
I wouldn't call it an RPG.
Enough for me to go, like, there's some things I don't like about it because of that. And that's why RPGs and me just never see eye to eye. It's the whole maintenance and things like that. I like stuff being taken care of behind the scenes by the computer.
Sure.
But I don't know, is it in that form? Was I not fun like that, or I don't know.
I would definitely say it's like what you're describing, where it requires a lot of work on your behalf.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very rewarding if you're into that.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I mean, every once in a while, if I'm killing a lot of dudes and I'm picking up all their items, then I have to go into my inventory and break some of them down or drop some of them because otherwise I'm going to be overloaded and then I slow down.
Yeah,
they do have the encumberment thing. See, and that's another one for me where it's like
But okay, so here's something I didn't talk about. So armor, weapons, everything. As long as you upgrade it a little bit, you can get you can get these special slots that you can stick crystals in, and so you can combine crystals to make them more powerful. And they do a lot of different things like increase your strength, increase accuracy. They can increase specific types of abilities that you have as well. And I've also been finding ones that increase your inventory load. So basically.
Nice.
Which I stick on my gloves to be thematic, and so my gloves allow me to pick up like right now 40% or 40 pounds more than I normally can carry.
That's
or
awesome.
Something like that. Yeah, and so that customization again kind of comes in and alleviates some of those things that might be burdensome.
I love the leveling up process in the game. Yeah. I think that like the skill sets that they have and the things that you can put skill points into is a lot of fun. I like that there's
lockpicking. I put a lot into lockpicking right away.
And then you level up and you get these skill points that you can put into these abilities.
Yep.
And so you can only max some of them out until you go up more levels.
Or you have certain requirements for your abilities.
Yeah. So you have to like unlock this certain amount or this kind of magic before you can like upgrade.
And weapons and armor are the same way. Some are level specific, but some are like you need 20 strength in order to wield this sword or something like that, which is kind of cool.
So I really like that customization aspect.
Yeah,
I think that's really its strong suit.
I like it too.
If you have like a desire to play a game where you can really customize your character and be specific about how you want to play them, then I think this game is perfect.
Yeah.
And it's really well done outside of like general gameplay. I like the look of the game.
I think it's beautiful
pretty smooth.
Game. Of Arcanine and Risen, I mean, I was really talking up Arcanine's visuals a lot, and this completely floored me in comparison in terms of like the environment and like the tall grass and the setting as well. I mean, I've been calling it a fantasy RPG, and it's fairly medieval in its setting, but instead of being in like a generic Europeans sort of area, you're in a savanna, at least in this first part. I haven't gotten out of this. So like everything is themed to like northern Africa. And so there are slight Egyptian themes, and then you're running through parts that are desert and some that are
and it's bright
grasslands. Yeah, and it's super bright. Like when the sun's rising, it's like almost blinding at certain points.
So, it works against like what you have sometimes with an issue of everything just being that dirty gray, dark color. So it's like this game is like completely bright.
That's something I really love about it. Yeah, no, completely. And what else was I going to say about it? But yeah, I mean, it's got, quests, you run around, do the quests, but it's also, I don't know, it's got a good feel to it. Like for the dialogues that you have, the voice acting is pretty good.
I think it's okay.
Your main actor kind of gets on. The main character is basically the Jack Donaghy of the RPG world because he talks like this all the time.
Everything.
What do you want me to do?
Nice.
Okay. By the way, I made the ugliest doughbage I could ever for that game.
I saw yours.
He's super short.
Yeah,
he's just like a mole person. He's like a dick.
Plus, that's how as far as I would get in a game like that. I would just make my guy.
It was pretty customizable on that character. I was like, I skipped through a lot of things. I'm like, I don't even care about this.
Where
am I going? Yeah.
Did he do his arm shake to you? Did you see that?
Okay,
did you not get that?
So Jeremy was telling me about this where he does this arm shrug.
Two different movements.
Arm shrug, yeah, or this point. And yeah, completely in the beginning he does that. In the beginning, pretty much everyone looks like when they talk, they use one of the generic taunts from like a PS2 WWE game. Or something like somebody does like the across the throat, you know, stuff like that. But beyond that, I haven't seen any of that coming in. So I don't know why.
Maybe it was just I was focused on it then.
Well, it was pretty prevalent in the beginning.
Okay, I'll go this way, and he does like this arm.
He does,
shrug.
and they would be completely inappropriate. But once I got into the Savannah area, I haven't really been seeing that. Cool. But overall, I think the voice acting is pretty good. I like that aspect of it. The sound's really nice.
There's a humor in there. I mean,
there's a humor. I heard a Ghostbusters reference the other day.
See, that's awesome.
Yeah, and I like it quite a bit. It does feel like it's a game where I'm going to be like, I have to keep playing this for a while. It's going to be a long time before I finish this game, but it's solid enough that I feel like that's something I'm comfortable with.
Right, cool. And you didn't mess around with any of the multiplayer, is that right?
No.
You can do co-op, but you can also do like...
There's a co-op campaign, you can also play it single player, but apparently there's like swarms of enemies and things like that, so it's hard. But then there are also just straight up multiplayer things. There's deathmatch in this. And so, yeah. And so my thinking is that they may have been inspired by this by Red Dead Redemption. Because honestly, Red Dead Redemption is a skill tree short of being an RPG in a lot of respects. Yeah. Well, you don't really collect items that way, but you know, it's in terms of the way you interact with the environment and characters
and grow your character,
it's very much like an RPG. And so, and I was looking at the different things.
It's the jock jams of RPGs.
There you go.
I was looking at the different things you could do multiplayer wise, and I'm like, wow, these sound a lot like, you know, the sort of things that they have in like Red Dead Redemption. And I'm like, oh, that might have been part of the inspiration. But yeah, speaking of Red Dead Redemption, much like in Red Dead Redemption, I got a horse and then immediately lost it, and now I can't get it back. Son of a bitch.
You can't. So what do you have to do now? You're just without a horse?
I don't know. I'm kind of fucked because there are some quests that require a horse.
You got to be able to find another one somewhere.
I think so. You would think, but I haven't been able. And I've looked online.
Don't take it out on me, Craig.
I'm not sorry. I was like riding.
I didn't kill your fucking horse.
I was riding my horse through the savannah, and then a bunch of things came to attack me, so I jumped off the horse so the horse wouldn't get killed. And I'm like, "Stay here, horse!" And then I fought them, but then they killed me. And so then I reappeared, and supposedly you're supposed to click down the left stick in order to whistle for your horse. So I'm like, "Oh, well, he'll just come." No whistle. Okay. And so then I went and go talk to the lady who gave me the horse in the first place. She's like, "Have you finished that mission yet? That requires the horse?" I'm like, no. So then I go back down where I lost the horse. The horse is not there. I don't know where the horse is. I know. I think I'm fucked.
Can't you just pull out your ocarina and play that song?
I wish.
You should be able to just find a horse.
I'm hoping I'll find a horse card and then summon it with like a spell.
Well, that'd be awesome, like a water horse.
Or maybe
summon horse.
Make a water horse.
You might be able to.
Well, I've already got a corpse card, so I can't wait till I get a summon card to attach with that. Because I
summon corpse.
Yeah.
That's
because
awesome.
I found like a necromancy book. See, that's the other thing. You learn skills by finding books, and then you just have to read it, or you can buy them in stores, but they're pretty pricey. But yeah.
That's another thing. The more you talk about the game and like doing that stuff, I really want to play it more. I want to put more time into it.
Honestly, when I first, through the first part, I was like, meh. And then I got into the savannah and the part where you're just in the savannah running around just killing baboons and ostriches and rhinos and all of that. I'm like, it's cool, but it's not really doing anything
I didn't like that part. I didn't like having to kill those animals.
That's really creepy because it's not.
Well, they're all just standing around. I'm like, well, I'm the one that's fucking.
Well, they do attack.
If you get close enough. Yeah. But you deserve that.
Then it's self-defense.
I have a soft heart.
It is definitely different than other RPGs where it's like, oh, kill this, Octorok or something crazy like that, and you're like, oh, take that fantasy monster. But then, I had the same thing.
It's just a rhino grazing, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna fuck you up, rhino.
I had the same thing in Arcanaya though, because you could go down to the beach and there would be these sea turtles just sitting there, and you could kill them and get their turtle meat. And I'm like, oh, sorry, turtle. But then there would be like these crazy goop things that would disguise themselves as turtles. And they go, brah! They run at you when you got close to them. I'm like, you fuckers. And then I'd kill all the turtles.
But I didn't want to kill any baboons.
but they throw shit at you. They got ranged attacks.
They literally do. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention about the game is I love, because you do have range options with a bow, or with your magic, but I love being able to hotkey stuff.
Yes.
So you can hotkey on your directional pad 3 different setups, basically.
Combinations of stuff.
And that includes, it's a full change of your armor, weapons, everything.
Yes.
Nice.
You hit left, right, or up, and it changes completely. So
really
one
cool.
of them was my melee, one of them was my archer, and one of them was my magic setup. So I would just be able to switch those out on the fly.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
Yeah.
Except for when you change something, you need to change it on all 3 of those setups.
Because I got an awesome story because I found some better pants. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, these are sweet. And so I equipped them and all that stuff. And I was running around. And then I saw some ants. And I'm like, well, my bow takes care of the ants pretty well. So I switched to my bow, taking care of the ants. And I finished that. And I'm like collecting the ant brain or whatever. And then all of a sudden I'm like, dude, you're not wearing any pants. Why are you not wearing any pants? Because I equipped it to my swords. My sword outfit, but I hadn't equipped it to my other outfits.
You have to do them all.
So I'm like wearing this longish armor top that's covering my junk because it's hanging down.
Nice.
So it's like a big sleep shirt.
Yeah, basically.
Metal sleep
Craig.
shirt.
It's like
Armored sleep
it's like
shirt.
a tunic.
Yeah.
But wearing no pants. But I got my boots on. That cracked me up.
Just running around the savannah.
Yeah,
But that was really handy.
It is. Yeah, I've got one set for my bow and one for my staff and one for my attacks. And this is actually of the Arcanaya and Risen. I haven't played Dragon Age. This is the first game that I've encountered that allows me to equip not only a two-handed weapon, not only a one-handed weapon and a shield, but also 2 single one-handed weapons, which is totally sweet. Especially because one thing, when you look at an enemy, you'll see these little shields appear above their HP meter. And those shields tell you what they're resistant to. So if it's got a sword point on it, they're resistant to slashing damage. If it's got a club on it, then they're resistant to bludgeon damage, things like that. And so being able to carry 2 one-handed weapons is great because what I do is I carry a sword in one hand and a club in the other hand. So I'm pretty much equipped to handle anybody.
I could hardly see what those symbols were.
What?
I know.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what to tell you. They were like all little.
They're little, yeah, but I could see them. Your TV's like twice as big as mine.
I don't know what to tell you.
I sit like further away. What?
You're probably playing with binoculars. Probably.
Take out my little opera glasses.
That's totally what you're doing.
I got one of those old people magnifying like panels that on the retractable arm.
You're busting out the little pocket fucking opera ones like you're saying, and you just like click them open.
Mine are on a stick, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well,
that's classier.
Classy ones.
Of course.
I couldn't tell what the
This is the
symbols
professor
were.
you're talking to.
I didn't have a legend, and I was confused half the time.
No,
I'm not very smart.
Some of them were about magic, like because there's a ricochet card that you can attach to your magic. So Sean, like in Ballistic, there, if you miss, it can ricochet off a wall.
Still have to play the game though.
Some are resistant to like ricochet damage, things like that. Yeah,
it seems like it's a super deep game too, lengthwise. I think there's a lot to it.
Oh, and did you get to any real cities? Like you start in that village, but
The village is really the only thing I was at.
because there's some.
I played it for like 3
there
hours.
are bigger cities, and man, they're just populated. There's just people walking all over the streets, and that was really impressive to me as well. Because things like Oblivion, I always felt there are NPCs walking around, but it's still pretty sparse.
Yeah.
This really feels like it's populated. And then at night, like all the vendors go home and everybody's off the streets, but there's still guards walking around, which you have to watch out for because if you try and break into like a house, like pick a lock and the guards catch you, then you can get in trouble. Awesome. And then you have to kind of run away until your trouble meter goes away and stuff like that. You can walk into people's house and take their shit, but if they're watching you, then you can't take it. You don't really get in trouble. They just kind of stare at you sternly. It like goes to this cutscene of them like just staring at you, and then it goes back and you're standing up. And
I had to steal from a guy, or I was going to steal from a guy. He was in there, and I was like, "Oh, I'll just try to open this." And then it went to a cutscene. He was just like sternly looking at me. Shamed me into not doing it.
Did you wear your pants though?
I was wearing pants that time. That might have been a benefit if I wasn't wearing pants.
Might have been why he was looking at you. Though. Maybe he was making sex eyes.
Could be. I don't know.
Literally, they're giving you like, dude, I'm fucking standing right here.
Yeah,
that look without saying
which
it.
cracked me up actually. It makes me laugh every time because they're just like,
dude,
what the fuck are you doing?
Dude, I'm right here, dude.
And I'm like,
house.
I'm sorry.
That's my shit.
Yeah. You don't make a lot of choices, but you do get to make some choices, and it seems like, I don't know if there's really like a karma meter like there is in some other RPGs.
I don't think.
But there are, choices that are like, I'm being benevolent, or choices like, I don't fucking care. I just want to get this job done, and I don't care who falls in front of me, And so, of course, I'm being the benevolent guy because this is my first playthrough, and I can't help it. But
there's a lot to it, so I mean, we may have more next time because I think I want to grab a copy of it so that we can play together.
Yeah.
I want to do some of the multiplayer on it. So
sweet,
cool.
There you go. How about some Dead Space 2?
Dead Space 2. There's a lot of twos.
I'm excited.
Deuce it up.
I'm excited
to
talk about some Dead Space 2. I should mention that
I need a break.
We're going to keep this spoiler free, but we are doing a Dead Space 2 private chat where we'll be discussing spoilers in depth. So look for that next week, probably.
Yeah.
So anyway, on to the Dead Space 2 conversation. What do you guys think?
The first time I was playing through, I kind of ended up being a little frustrated.
Okay, shut up. Sean, what do you think?
I liked stuff. No. When I first started it, I was like, this is awesome.
Yes.
And honestly, overall, I like it. I have this feeling like enemies were ratcheted up in difficulty for Dead Space 2 in comparison to Dead Space 1. And so both in how quickly and ferociously they attack, but then also how they're introduced, because I feel like I constantly felt like there was a situation where I'm in a hallway, there's a dude in front of me, I fight him, but another dude appears behind me, so then I turn around to fight him, and another dude appears on the other side, and then that keeps going, and I don't know. And so I ended up getting quite frustrated, and it was really distracting me from my enjoyment of the game, which was happening naturally. But yeah.
What about you, Sean?
I took one for the team on this one.
To
be honest,
fucking awesome game.
To be honest with you, I took one for the team. I'll admit they did a really good. The developers did a really good job of keeping me into this game, because there'd be times where I was ready to put the controller down and I was done with it. I'm like, I'm fucking done with this game, and then it'd be the end of the level, and then it'd give me a chance to chill out and relax and calm down. I'll have to admit, the second disc, my favorite part of that game.
Yeah.
See, I'm completely opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it was the second disc where things became hella tough. In my opinion,
I find that the game slows way down in the second half.
Yeah, and
because I had to keep refighting everything.
Correct. I think the second disc for me, I was on the lowest difficulty there was.
Me too.
I started on normal, and then I bumped
played
down.
on casual because I'm a baby.
Well, that's the way to go, in my opinion, for the starting play.
Yeah,
and I'll admit, I think the second disc is the first one. It was the constant. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? That's what's happening. What's going to happen? That's what's happening. Okay. The second disc was like, I felt this whole type of, I just really felt a flow of it. I really felt like when things were amping up, I knew they were amping up.
Yeah, well, and for the second disc, I would say that most of that second half, it's always amped up.
Yeah, it's just always going.
And I think, and that's what that kept me going in the second disc. Whereas the third one, it was more of just it was a punch in the stomach.
First one.
I'm like, which copy of the game did you get?
Holy shit! You got 3 discs.
The first and a half disc.
I thought I was talking about Dead Space 3.
But I think that was it. It all falls to the whole Silent Hill and what I have a problem with Silent Hill about. And that's what I have a problem with this game about. Silent Hill, the visuals was a problem for me, but it was also the setup. And
you don't like that cooldown.
I don't.
And then
I don't like the quietness. I don't like this calm.
Well, that's where the creep is.
Yeah, exactly. But they give you that sense of calm,
lull.
even though you know what's coming up. You know what's coming up. You know it's coming up, and then they punch you in the nuts.
That's the tension.
I understand that, but that's what I fucking hate about Silent Hill, and that's what I fucking hate about this game. Had that game not had this in it, I would have loved this game, because then it's like they rewarded me with spacewalking. They rewarded me with zero grab. They rewarded me with all those different levels where you used your stasis or your
kinesis,
thing. All those little, those things added to the game really made the game for me, and I was really happy with it. Visually wise, I was very happy with the game. I thought it was fantastic looking. The sound, even though it pissed me off every single corner of the game, I thought the sound was awesome.
Yeah.
But
you hate it because it did its job too well. Is what you're saying.
And the only reason is that I hated it so like I didn't enjoy it and didn't enjoy the gameplay because I knew that's what was going to be, and those are the kind of games I don't like playing. But I knew I was going to sit here through a show and not be able to fucking talk, and I knew there was going to be a private chat about it. I knew all that stuff, and I could not come to the show. I could not do the private chat, but I wanted to put my 2 cents in.
210?
Well, not 2/10 of a cent, and tell people if you don't like Silent Hill, you're not going to fucking like this game. So I'd stay away from it.
No. I think a lot more people will like Dead Space and Dead Space 2 than would like Silent Hill.
I don't think that.
I do.
I know you do, but you like both the games, so it doesn't really.
Actually, I don't like Silent Hill.
That doesn't really.
Dead Space.
Case in point.
No, because I don't like either of them. Case in point.
Well, no, but I'm saying that's not the end all be all. So if you don't like Silent Hill, I think that you could still like Dead Space. I think if you do like Dead Space, you'll probably I don't know if that goes either way.
Wait.
I don't like Dead Space.
I think the real question here is how does Dead Space stack up against Deadly Premonition?
No competition.
No, but Deadly Premonition had the same problems with the same thing.
Yeah,
it was visually, it was the gameplay, and it's just the setting it up for those. And I don't like it when that stuff happens because I tend to button smash.
Sure.
And when I button smash in this game, then I'm I'm pausing shit, or I'm using up like stuff that I shouldn't be using up. That's why that's the other thing I don't like about it. It's that intensity. You know, you can't compare this to Resident Evil at all.
I agree.
In my opinion.
Oh yeah, I would.
At all. Resident Evil was, it was just a shooter with zombies in it, where this is a horror fucking game.
I mean, Resident Evil is kind of more like, you know, you go to the carnival and then those targets will pop up and then you know, shoot them. Like it feels more segmented like that. But and Dead Space 2 really ramped up the fluidity of everything and just
that's the thing.
And one of the things that was, you know, I'm kind of talking about the intensity was maybe a little too much in some areas for me, but the intensity outside of combat was amazing. You know, the sort of things that you were required to do that weren't just, you know, going down and shooting necromorphs. You know, the challenges that you encountered across the way were really intense and really action-packed and really sweet.
For me, the flow, first off, I think that the start of the game is amazing. I love the recap of 1. Sean, I know you didn't play 1, or you didn't finish 1.
Yeah.
But I love the recap at the beginning. It's an awesome way to get back into the story and like to be refreshed. I thought the opening scene was insane. And maybe some of the most ridiculous like character model stuff that I've ever seen. The render stuff that they did with that guy that's saving you and waking you up, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Brah!" And that stuff was awesome looking, and it was creepy as shit.
This game almost lost me in the very beginning. Actually, to be honest with you, the amount of times I died. The amount of times I died. Yeah,
it's funny to me.
Yeah.
But you mentioned something, Craig, specifically the flow.
Yeah.
And that to me was what sets this game so much more apart than the first one. And that is where the first game felt so segmented.
Well, yeah, and you got in the train.
And you got in the train and you had to go to the next chapter, and there was a definite chapter start and end.
Yeah, you weren't going to get attacked in that beginning.
And it's the way you took a break, and it was a way to do that. This game, I was in a flow that half the time I didn't even see the chapter thing pop up in the bottom of the screen. And before I knew it, I was like 5 hours in and I had played like 7 chapters. And I'm like, how the hell did I just do all this stuff? Because you don't want to stop. And that's how I felt. I didn't want to stop.
And so what it does is it succeeds at a story.
Oh my.
And doesn't let the game get in the way of the story.
I will... Maybe
I mean, story as an experience. Maybe story is too strong.
The gameplay
succeeds as an experience, and this is where the frustration with the enemies being very difficult kind of got in my way. Because I don't mind if the enemies kill me every once in a while. I kind of expect, you know, a challenging game to do that. But it was getting to the point where it was basically interrupting that entire flow, and so the whole thing was breaking down for me, and I was out of my experience. And all of a sudden, I'm like, I have to fucking think about how do I beat these guys with, you know, this stuff.
And I think that was maybe the difference of me playing the casual, because I didn't have to worry about that at all.
Right.
Because I hardly died playing through. Now, I immediately finished the game. Okay, but here's the thing I was thinking about while I was playing it, because I had you in mind, because I think about you all the time, Sean.
Who doesn't?
So, right.
Yeah, both hands on the controller.
Well, a controller.
Joystick.
A joystick. But I was thinking about how, in addition to that flow, I had the previous knowledge of 1, so I kind of knew what to expect. I kind of knew what was going to go on. I knew where things were going to come from, even though they changed up a little bit. You know, you kind of still know how to deal with these things. So you had almost this back training even a couple of years ago of it wasn't a first-time experience. So I had an easier time flowing into this game than I did with Dead Space 1, just because you were learning all that stuff for the first time. This is like getting back on a bike, you know, at this point. So I felt that flow to be a little easier and more convenient. But I enjoyed that aspect of it. I thought it was just so well done, and that flow was amazing.
No, and when that's going, because on my second playthrough, I played through, it was a New Game Plus, so I was using my upgraded weapons, and I was playing it on casual, and that flow was there, and it worked for me.
See, and that's when I went...
And I think that flow is critical for the game, actually, because then it just breaks down and then becomes frustrating, and then all the horror aspects become annoying. Really, actually quite annoying, because where I broke down was the very end of the game, the literal end of the game. And so then all the things that were supposed to be horror aspects, I'm like, shut up already. I get it. You watched 90s Japanese horror film remakes. Thank you very much. You can screech and do a distorted face. No, this is what I was like screaming. I did think of you. I thought about recording a rant, but by the time I booted up the computer and everything, it was gone. I was even going to like distort it so it sounded like an audio log that I found.
That'd be awesome. That would have been sweet.
I know, these were my plans, but then by the time I got it set up, I'm like, oh, I'm calm.
So what I was going to say is that on my second playthrough, because I finished it and I played right away. Again. And so by Sunday, so what, 6 days after the game had been out, I'd been through the game twice, which is unheard of for me.
Right. And you jumped right up to Zealot level on your second playthrough. I did.
So the second playthrough, I went to Zealot, so the hardest, well, quote-unquote hardest level. And that's where you go in New Game Plus, so I was beefed up. I had my huge stockpile of stuff from the casual, which is an awesome way to play it. So I didn't still have that frustration until later on, and that's where I had to get into how do I need to do this. I die and I go, okay, now let's be smart about how I take on this room. And that really changed up my gameplay. The first time through, I was more just shooting everybody with my plasma cutter.
And I would like that more in a second playthrough, the stopping to strategize. But in my first playthrough, you know, especially because it was flowing for me so well in the first disc, and then I hit this wall where it's like, oh, guess what, Craig? You're going to have to, you know, be smarter before you can get through this. I'm like, thanks for calling me dumb, game. I played your first version 3 times. Thank you very much.
The one thing that really grabbed me was like there was some things that called to the first game that made me remember things like decontamination rooms and things like that. So I was like, oh shit, I know what's going to happen here. So I got to be ready for it, type of thing. And once you get to the second disc, there was like some other things that made me like flashes of stuff that I remembered from the first one.
And they would play with that.
And I thought that was a really awesome touch to the game, even though I didn't get too far on the first one. I know I blame my Xbox for that one, but I really blame me for being a pussy. Essentially, is what it comes out to be.
The first step is admitting.
Exactly, but
and the second step is playing the fucking game because it's awesome.
I can't agree with you on that one. I want to, but it's
weird to me because you love horror stuff. I thought
it's a different. Is it because a whole different?
Is it because of
wait? Did he actually say he loves horror stuff?
I like horror stuff and horror stuff. It all works
Is it because of the interactivity? Is it because that you're part of it?
I'm part of it.
Okay,
and it becomes. I'm sitting in a room and I start to get frustrated, and I have to make the choices, and I have to.
You have to manipulate.
I have to shoot. I have to. You have to make the call. But I'm already like screaming at the fucking TV, like, "Shut up! I'm scared." You know, Steam scares me. Thanks. You know, if that would have happened to in a movie, it doesn't scare me. But it's in a game where I'm like,
you're technically the guy.
Yeah, and what upsets me is like the whole tone of the game started right from the very get go, and where I've always felt like with this game, which happened with the first one, is me being short on ammo through most of the game. I played through casual. I was not. I felt like I was always. But then again, I was spending all my money on ammo.
Well, even if you don't, you get a lot of ammo.
On casual, you do.
On casual,
and that's why I'm so glad I never played through anything else.
Because when I ended casual, I think I had like hundreds and hundreds.
I was dropping ammo on the floor because I wanted to pick up like a superconductor or something like that. I'm like, I have too much ammo.
So there was like that aspect because early on I was starting to get that kind of freakish about it. But you know,
okay.
I don't know.
Well, story wise, you mentioned briefly, and I wanted to say I did not not enjoy the story of 2 as much as I did of 1. There's something definitely odd about it, and I can't place my finger on it. And I'm wondering, because I was looking at this or thinking about this in the last week or two, and that is it too spread out? Is this story like too quote unquote watered down because they have all these different sources? I can't think of another IP that has started as a video game that is in so many different kinds of media. There's books, there's comic books, there's movies, there's
just Halo would be the next one.
A downloadable game. There's
Halo has all that stuff.
A Wii specific game until the PS3 release of it that included it.
Yeah.
And all of that stuff is canon that fits chronologically in order. And that all feeds on the story. And so it's not essential, but it adds pieces in that definitely enhance the story.
You know,
so that's weird to me.
I did feel like the story wasn't, I don't know, maybe, I didn't feel like it was watered down. I did feel like it was maybe sparse.
We can talk about it more in depth on the private chat.
I'm just trying to give a generalization here. I think I would agree that it was a little sparse maybe, and just that
convoluted.
Well, the first story was pretty convoluted too. I mean,
it is until you add in the other aspects, and that's what I'm wondering, because I've seen some of that stuff now.
Sure,
like the movies and the book. You know, read synopsises of the books that it kind of explain the unitology marker stuff.
Yeah,
like the foundings of it, that stuff is really interesting to me, and I want to know more about it.
I think,
but I also worry that there's a potential of, well, we don't want to tell you because we want you to keep tuning into the next book and movie.
I think my reaction to the story for 2 was pretty much the same as the story for 1, except I didn't feel like everybody was like, go fix this thing, do this for me. And I think that's why I liked this story a little bit.
So let's talk about that too, because Isaac becomes a character.
Yeah.
He becomes his own person.
I think I termed him like the Deep Space's handyman or something like that from the first game.
He was their bitch, I think is what you called him.
No, he was.
They're like, we can't get this elevator to work. Go fix it.
And it's much more.
We're not going to let you in. You have to go fix that.
Yeah, exactly.
This room's clear.
And it's much more than just even giving him a voice, which I'm glad that they did.
Yeah,
you know,
I liked that,
making him a character. But he was taking charge. It wasn't somebody, you know, you had people trying to help you and direct you, but they weren't telling you need to go do this before we'll do this for you.
He was doing things for his own motivation.
Yeah, he's getting out of there.
People were kind of telling him where to go, but it was because he wanted to do something.
Right. He's like, I want to get out of here, so to help me now. And then it was all on his own, which I like that aspect of the game a lot.
And I think that was a bit better motivation for me throughout the game.
Agreed.
Not that I really needed a lot more motivation in the first game, but...
And Sean, you mentioned the zero gravity sections, which... Those are definitely a change from the first game, because those were almost more like a puzzle aspect of you could go from one area to the next and then walk on that area.
Yeah.
But this is a free form moving now, where you have it like almost a jet propulsion system that allows you to float around and fly around, and I thought that stuff was awesome.
I thought
that was really cool.
It was fantastic. I love those, and I thought that was paced very well through the game. I almost kind of wish there was a couple other ones, because
it did feel like there weren't that many.
There was a really, I think what made me want more is there's a huge part of the game where you just bam, and it's a huge one, and it's fantastic, and it looks awesome, and I just I wish there was a little bit more here, smaller ones here and there throughout. Even though, I loved when it came to that, because I almost had this sense of, well, now I got to figure out to get to point A to point B, or turn something on, and that puzzler kicked in, and I think that's what really I loved about the game.
I found in general there felt like there was less puzzles.
Yeah, I think it was more action oriented than it was puzzle oriented. I would totally agree. And one thing I remember us talking about with the first game was sort of the sense of space of the Ishimura.
Yes,
like you get into big areas and it'd be like, I really feel like I'm in something. And I think this had this as well. And one thing that I particularly liked was the threat of decompression and like windows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really neat aspect, because one, if you're aware of it, then it's something you can pay attention to, or something you can even use to your advantage. But if you're unaware of it, then it's something that could totally catch you by surprise and,
it sucks.
Be threatening.
Literally.
But I liked that aspect of it. I mean, that enhanced the experience of, being in a deep space, space station.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So when you just look over the entire city and you're like, holy shit, this thing is huge, and you see like Saturn in the background, I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I love
pretty badass.
any of those elements where you see the outside. It just really adds to that scale. And it's like you're saying from the first game where you go into an engine room and you see a part of it and you're like, oh my god, this is just a fraction of what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And when that finally happens, after being in like hallway after hallway and like enclosed, it's kind of just awesome to give you that sense of space and like where you're at.
I think again the fluidity helps with that here, instead of using the tram system like you did in the first game to get from space to space. So that felt compartmentalized, whereas this is, you know, one giant thing, you know, one giant maze.
Right. Now, they also had some new enemies in the game, too,
yes.
Which was interesting to me. I like some of those stalkers, the ones that were almost like the raptors that would run at you. Is that what those were called?
Things
that would peek around the corner and then run at you. I like those a lot.
Those are kind of cool, yeah.
I like walking in the room and you would go forward, like your light
pokes their head
and its head will stick up above the thing. And I'm like,
it's almost comical.
Shit. It is.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny. Who else was new?
The pukers. Fuck
those guys
pukers.
suck.
Because they can hit you from clear across the fucking room.
And you don't know where it's coming from.
No.
Yeah.
Those guys annoyed me.
I had a really big problem with that later in the game.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple open spaces.
Yeah.
And it's like, where are they shooting from?
Open spaces were usually your place where you could kind of gain some control because, you know, you could kind of manipulate where you're getting attacked from, but not with the pukers. No. And something in me says, well, they kind of added that maybe for the multiplayer to give the necromorph team a ranged attack.
Yeah, now I don't think you can play as that guy, though. I think it's somebody else you play as.
Oh, okay.
So did you guys check out the multiplayer at all? Or am
I did not get a chance to.
I played like one round is all I got into because I was so wrapped up in the single player.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it seemed interesting. I think I would like to do it with, you know, friends, obviously, because I think it's hard if you're not communicating or if you're just not having fun, like buddying around with people with it.
They're all kind of similar to the Left 4 Dead mode where you're like trying to complete an objective.
It's objective based, so you have to go to these 4 different points to activate this system.
Yeah.
And it takes like a minute to activate it, so you got to sit there holding the button. So you play as one team of the
humans,
the dudes, and then the other team is the necromorphs running around, and then you flop. And it's whoever did it faster or completed it or
so
whatever.
It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Gas tank.
The only issue I noticed was, other than the game I was in had friendly fire on, which I hope that's not a constant because that made it not easy. But I think I just hit quick play, so I just got thrown into a game that was already preset. But the necromorphs seemed to like spawn really fast.
Oh, did they?
Which was kind of odd to me. It was really quick, so it was almost like you never had a time to like, you know, regroup or to like get together.
Sure.
Because there were always necromorphs everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I'm not again to make the Left 4 Dead comparison, but you know that's kind of the style of the game. I mean, were you really expected to win, like complete everything with the Left 4 Dead one? I always had the impression you're supposed to, like, the humans are supposed to die, and whoever lasts the longest.
Yeah, that's probably what the case is. There was only 4 different people you could be. You could be those new kids that are running
on
around
the block.
The ones that they added that are like the kid.
Oh yeah, I think they're called like the pack or the horde or.
They
something.
Run in screaming.
Yeah.
Sean, you just got like a disgusted look on your face. You're all right.
The 2 kids in this fucking game are the things that pissed me off the most.
The 2 new additions,
the little alien white guys.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, that would be like all like hunched down. Next thing you know, and then once they grabbed you, then they get these weird wings on their backs. It's like so freaky looking. And then the babies that just rolled around.
Yeah. Those babies are easy to take out.
I like when they flop over and stuff like that. It's totally gross.
I agree they're easy to take out, but it's just so visually like, it's creepy.
But anyway, so that's one, and then you play as the thing that has the 3 tentacles that comes out its back.
Yeah.
So it walks on the walls, which that thing was cool.
The old baby necromorph.
The one that drove me nuts always, because they would just show up and
the avatar
own you.
thing.
Oh, those guys.
Awesome.
That's what the line gun's for. You just cut off all 3 of those tentacles right away, and they're dead.
See ya, bitches. And then it's just a couple of the other. There's like a runner one, and then something else. I can't remember what it was, but they were just basic ones. Maybe the spitter one was in there. I thought it was something else. Anyway, regardless, I just played the one round.
I guess I assumed it was because it reminded me of the.
I'm gonna check it out more between now and next episode. Yeah. So I don't really have a lot.
Okay, so what was your favorite weapon?
Well, I have a problem because I only played like with 4 different weapons still to now.
You suck.
I know,
Sean.
I only play with 4.
You both suck. What the
rifle.
hell?
Pulse rifle I love.
I played with them all. I actually like the pulse rifle. I didn't really use the pulse rifle in the first game. I went except what I had to, but yeah.
I went the same route as I did with 1, which is my cutter and pulse rifle.
Yeah, I found the cutter was not sufficient in normal, because that's what I was trying to do, because I played my first playthrough of the first game entirely with the cutter, because that was kind of awesome. I liked that. Plus, if you don't carry many weapons, then you don't get a lot of junk ammo, so you can really focus your ammo.
I only carried those 2.
But contact gun, which was pretty awesome. It's like this particle accelerator or whatever.
Yeah.
You have to charge it up.
The contact beam or whatever.
Yeah, the contact beam. Yeah, you have to charge it up for the main shot, but it's alt fire.
Yeah.
You like slam it into the ground and like shoots out this shockwave. If you upgrade that alt fire, it gets to a special node, and you put that in, and then it blows like everyone apart and causes stasis on them as well. Which is totally sweet. So people would swarm. So this was on my second playthrough that I discovered this, and I'm like, people would swarm me, and I'd be like, whatever, dudes. And then I'd run away as their frozen body parts slowly fly through the air.
See, that's fairly cool. The stasis stuff, like the stasis bombs and things like that, I thought was really neat.
Yeah. The things that you could pick up off the ground. Yeah.
Yes.
Because they had the fire. They had the fire ones in the last one, right?
Yeah.
But they didn't have the stasis ones. Those were awesome.
I would totally step on them. I'd crush them. Like, I'd get in a corner and I'd be getting attacked. And
so
of course,
just stomp?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Because it's my classic first-person Sean, where even though it's not first-person shooter, I still have the same problems where I start just pushing my controller and looking down.
Yeah.
And I get all nervous and all crazy, and I start hammering, and then it goes. I'm like, that's right, and I back out of there.
Can I tell you what's awesome too? Is the first time I was spamming my stomp button, like I had something on me. It was probably one of those goddamn things with the tails that we were talking about, those crawlers that I hate more than anything.
Those are the ones that seem the most ramped up.
So they're on the ground, so I'm just stomping the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was surrounded by 3 things. I think I was taking everybody out and stomping the shit out of everything. And I was just like, fuck you guys, I'll fuck them. So I was all mad. And then Isaac on TV is like, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Which happens when you spam the stomp button. And I'm like, that is the most awesome thing ever, because that's what I was just doing.
Yeah. It's a really nice touch, because I did that a lot, where I was just, because I got into where I get so nervous and I'd start just meleeing and stomping, and because I don't know where anything was at.
And stomping is a more integral part, because that's how you get stuff out. Well, that's one of the ways you can get stuff out of the dead necromorphs. You can waste ammo by hitting them, or hurl stuff with kinesis at the bodies. But you have
on casual, you don't worry about wasting ammo. It's just flowing like water.
On normal, you worry about it a lot.
I'm just being a dick.
So
no, but that was a big change as well.
Yes.
Because in the first game, I was stomping stuff mostly because I didn't want it to come back as a necromorph later. So, like, there'd be a corpse in a room. I'm like, sorry, dude. And I stomp off his legs and his head. I'm like, that way, if you come back, I can get you pretty easily. But, yeah. But with this one, you had to stomp pretty much everybody.
Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
I love the game. I love it. 1 is probably still one of my favorite games ever. And 2 doesn't let me down at all.
I really liked it. I think there are points where the frustration overwhelmed the flow of the game, and so it was starting to fall apart there. But once I took control of the frustration levels by bumping it down in difficulty, it all came back. So
awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I still
despite
hated
yourself.
If I was not a pussy, I probably would have liked it a lot more. But since I'm
all right, well there's a lot of things that I want to talk about specifically, so we'll do that in our private chat, which will be available probably a week from this episode. Yeah. So
awesome.
Check it out next week, and be warned, there's going to be spoilers, because we're going to talk about specific things, like... No, never mind.
Like that.
I should list them all, what we're going to talk about.
Should have just beeped that.
All right, so look for that episode if you finish the game or if you don't care. And we'll talk about all the stuff there. Is that it for us this week?
That's it.
I do have an email I want to share real quick at the tail end here in regards to our last episode, and that was us talking about who buys games for special armor. And we got an email from someone, and that is from Stephen Horsley, who wrote us to let us know, hey guys, just finished listening to your latest episode. Great stuff once again, which, by the way, that kind of blatant, like, pandering
I know.
will always get us to read your email.
Yeah.
So we appreciate.
It's funny because it's true.
We appreciate that. But he goes on to say that you mentioned about people buying a game exclusively for content in other games. I confess that I bought Dragon Age Origins Collector's Edition simply because it had the special armor for Mass Effect 2. I did have the intention of playing Dragon Age, but I never got around to it, and eventually traded it in.
Oh, that is kind of funny.
He spent 45.
Sorry, man, I'm laughing at you.
He spent 45, and it's a weird symbol. I'm assuming I have no choice but to assume it's Monopoly money. No, it's a pound sign, I believe.
Yeah,
because he also spells armor wrong. So. Wrong in quotation marks. I'm sorry.
Because we pronounce things a little differently. Some may say more correctly.
So essentially, he spent 45 pounds on a set of armoire. So there you go. Just so we know, people do
quit critiquing his spelling.
So people do technically spend it on armor and items like that.
That's awesome, though.
Even though he had the intention to play the game.
He did have the intention, but he failed to, so it succeeds at being hilarious for me.
Thank you, Stephen, for writing us in.
Thank you for giving me a laugh.
Yeah, it sounds like an excuse.
I have all, and you would know.
I know I would. I have all the intention of playing Bulletstorm.
Exactly. All right. Well, that's it for us.
Yes.
Signedinpodcast.com. That is our website. You can find a link to our Twitter feed, our Facebook fan page, which we officially are over 1,500 people on now.
Nice.
I said last time we were going to be down below.
Everyone quit.
We're above now.
No,
don't quit.
I just like to toy with Jeremy's heart.
Don't play games with my heart. Or quit playing games with my heart. Is that it? Yikes. No, you're even doing the fucking dances.
You know it.
Nice. And you won't play Dance Central.
You know it.
You guys, what are you doing?
Hey, I go back in time, man. There's a time machine that takes me back.
I wish I could go back at least an hour and a half right now.
So I could dance off to like Bobby Brown back when he did do coke and stuff. Well, you might have been doing it then. I don't know.
So signedinpodcast.com. Also, all of our past episodes are there. Link to our forums and the other Pseudo Radio shows. You can email us anytime, like Mr. Horsley did, and tell us how you like our show.
Yeah.
And we'll read your letter on the show. That's all we need to do.
Or don't tell us you like it. We'll still read it.
Or you can be honest. We can take it too. Comments at signedinpodcast.com. That is our email address. And that's it. Next episode, you don't know.
Got me.
You Don't Know Jack comes out next week. I'm buying that game.
Right. You are?
No question.
Just straight up? Nice.
No question. Marvel vs. Capcom 3 comes out in between now and then.
Yeah,
it does.
And a little game on XBLA called Stacking is out next week, and I'm super excited for that.
That's what I'm going to be playing.
Me too.
Is that like the gang sign thing? Is it a gang sign game?
Yes.
That's what they used to call that when they do the gang sign?
Stacking.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Sweet.
It uses Kinect.
That's crazy.
To do gang signs.
Bloods and Crips.
I can't even keep that going. I was losing that at the end.
That'd be great.
All right, Jesus Christ.
Cheese up, hose down.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
This has been a Pseudo Radio production. Repeat, this has been a Pseudo Radio production, copyright 2011.